Hi, I'm back. So I'm gonna apologize for not being very techy, and for proofreading, if you will, after I do stuff. I'm a great proofreader once I've already sent my text messages or sent my emails or whatever. Um, it's a really bad habit of mine, usually because I'm in a hurry, but this one, I realized that everything I was writing in my last video was backwards. So I'm just going to apologize to all of you who watched that video and felt like your eyes were crossing. Uh, I'm going to redo that video. It's not going to be exactly the same, but it's going to be the same message, if you will, just not maybe the same exact words and everything, because I don't script this clearly. um anyway, I'm really sorry about that. I don't know why that happened. We found the setting in my camera that fixed it, but I'm still confused as to why my other videos weren't like that and that one was. When I'm not techie enough to mess around with anything on my phone. I don't mess with technology. If it works, I leave it alone because ooh. So I'm really sorry. I feel really bad and feel like it's a slap on my integrity or something. But anyway, I'm going to do a little review of the tenses that we've done. I want to do a few different families of verbs, so a few different conjugations in the two tenses that we've done. We've done present and we've done imperfect. And I'm hoping that this will kind of just recap the verb work that we've done, because we've done a lot of work with verbs and we got more to do. So hang in there. And I'm going to do that. I wanted to recap the direct objects that we did, because they're really important, and I want to make sure that we kind of solidify that. And then I want to do our very first irregular verb, and it's not an action verb, and it's a little weird, but it's very important, okay? And we're going to talk about that. So I have a verb up here that we're going to do first, and then I'm going to give you two other verbs, and we're going to do the present and the imperfect for each of them, okay? So if we look at this verb, I have flow, flare, flawi, flatu, sum, okay, up on the board here. You probably maybe don't know this verb, but this verb means to blow, okay? So if you think of the word inflate, okay, when you inflate a balloon, you are blowing into the balloon. So into, and then you get the flate part from the Latin, to blow into something, okay? Deflate, it's the air is blowing out of your balloon, okay? You get the idea. All right, so flow flare means to blow, okay? So blowing wind, whatever. We are going to do this in the present and in the imperfect, and I'm going to show you what we're doing in case you're jumping in kind of midstream here. And then we're going to move on, and we're going to do two other verbs from two other families. And if I have time and I can make this quick, I will do either an IO third or a fourth, because they're very, very, very similar. That way you can kind of see how those conjugate as well. Okay, so present tense first, because that's what we did first, and I'm a very chronological kind of person. So present tense, here we go. So we have first person, second person, and third person. Okay, first person, I or we. Second person, you, either you singular or you plural. Third person, he, she, it, or they. Okay, so singular means one person, plural means two or more people or two or more things, whatever. Okay, you get the point. So we is plural because I'm talking about myself in a group. Unless I'm using the royal we and I'm just talking about myself like I'm more than one person. But usually when you say we're going to the store, people assume that it's not just you going to the store, it's a group of people. Okay? So singular and plural. Here we go. Now, we're going to ignore the other two principal parts here because we don't need them yet. We're getting there. You are coming up on the day when you are going to need the third principal part, but it's not today. So, yay, another day to live. All right, so here we go. We are going to find our stem. For those of you who are just tuning in, we're going to find our stem for this verb by taking the RE off of the infinitive. This is the infinitive, okay? The second principal part, your first principal part is your first person singular in the present tense. Your second principal part here is your infinitive. This is the word that means to do whatever. So in this case, it's to blow, okay? This is I blow and to blow. Okay, we're going to find our stem by taking the RE off of the infinitive, and we're going to get our stem, which is fla. Okay, that is your stem. And to that stem, we're going to add our endings. Now, if you notice, the first person singular is flow. It's not flaw. And that is because the O is extremely long. There's a, I don't know what that was floating in front of my face, but it looked like a piece of dust or a feather or something. Anyway, it's flow, not flaw, because the O is extremely strong. It's very long. It's much stronger than the A. And as I used to tell my students, it's so strong that it ate the A, and I would, for their amusement, draw a tiny little A inside the O, and they could imagine the O eating the A. And for fourth graders, it works. I mean, come on, they were fourth graders. All right, so here we go. We know that the first person singular in the present tense is flow. Okay. My kids are here. We have flow. The stem, as we already discovered, is flaw. Now our endings are OST, mus, tis, und, if you're just joining us. So we have the O. The next ending is S. You blow. Okay, so I blow, you blow. And we have our stem. And our T is our next ending. Okay, OST. So he, she, it blows. Okay. And I hate saying these because nowadays it's so crass and crude, but we have to think of wind blowing, not other stuff. All right. But yeah, I know. If I was teaching this to a bunch of high school kids, they'd be laughing really hard. Mine's out of the gutters though. This is Latin. All right. The Romans didn't have dirty minds. Read about Caligula. All right. So, flaw, our stem. Okay. Mus is our ending. Flamus. Okay. We blow. Flaw, again, our stem. And tis is our ending. Y'all blow. And I chose the wrong verb. And our last ending is nt. Okay. NT. So, flaunt. Okay. So, this is your verb for to blow. And we get words like inflate, deflate, inflation, flatulence, if we want to go with our dirty minds right now. Talk about farting. All right, there you go. So, now you know. All right, so that's present tense, okay? Present tense means it's happening right now, okay? Past tense, the only past tense we've done is the imperfect. My daughter is providing some background noise, which I'm trying to eliminate because I've already made one botched video, which was all backwards. So let's not repeat history. We're going to do the imperfect. All right. I had to choose a smaller board because we actually set up the room in our house for homeschooling, and my big board is now attached to the wall very securely. So now I'm using a very small board, and thankfully Amazon has one coming for me that's much larger, but for now this is where I'm at. All right, imperfect, if you recall, or if you don't recall, imperfect is a past tense, meaning it happened before now, okay? It's imperfect, not because there's something wrong with it, but because it is incomplete action. We don't know if the verb ended or if the action is completed yet. If I say I was sleeping, it's an ongoing action, okay? If I say they were skiing, it's an ongoing action. And in Latin, they use it for habits. They use it for things that happen all the time. You'll see the imperfect used for, bad habits for generals and consuls and stuff like that, if they wanted to indicate that this was something that happened all the time. Okay, recurring action was done in the imperfect a lot. So, the idea is that the action is not complete. All right, it's not that it's somehow defective, it's just that it's not complete. And we use this for process. Think of it as a process. If you were sleeping, sleeping involves a length of time. It's not like I died. If you die, you die, and it's like a moment and it's done. Okay, think of it that way. If I say I was sleeping, that's a process. That's a length of time. In my world, the longer the better. Oh, I love sleeping. Um, you know, think of it as process, okay, not event. If you can kind of conceptualize a point in time versus a span of time, you're getting warmer. Okay. So here we go. We're still finding our stem the same way. Okay. 1, 2, 3, first, second, third person. Our stem is still the same, but our endings are going to be different because we're in the imperfect now, the past. Okay. And the past happened before now, which, as I said in my previous video, seems kind of weird thinking of the past as before, but that's the way it is. I mean, if you look at a timeline, 2000 BC happened before today. Okay, fair enough. All right, so here we go. Let's put our stem down. Flaw. Now, if any of you have been following me and you can say the endings with me, that would be fantastic. So, flaw, bomb. I was blowing. Flaw, boss. These are your endings, by the way. I'm just gonna underline the endings. That way you can see the stem versus the ending. So, flaw, boss, you were blowing. Okay, like you were blowing up the balloon. Third person singular, flaw, bot. He, she, it was blowing. Okay. Flaw, ba, moose. Flaw, ba, tis. And flaw, bont. Okay, so we were blowing, y'all were blowing, they were blowing. Okay, plural, singular. Okay, the bomb, boss, bot endings are your imperfect endings. Imperfect is about as regular as it gets, so enjoy it because it's super duper friendly. It's just the nicest stinking conjugation ever. They are not all that kind. So think of it as a little gift from the ancient Romans to you. All right, a nice happy tense to conjugate. All right, so that's first conjugation. We know it's first conjugation because of the ARE infinitive. Okay, first conjugation also has an O in the first person, but if you recall, there are other families that also have an O in the first person singular. So, I don't know if I've ever said this, but if I haven't, I'm going to say it now. Memorize your principal parts. All of them. All 4. Okay, there are 4 principal parts for well, not for every Latin verb. Some of them are missing. Some of them do not have a principal part. Okay, but they all have more than one principal part. Let's just put it that way. Memorize whatever principal parts are available for every single verb as you memorize it. That way, when somebody says moeo, you can think moeo, movere, movi, motus sum. Okay? It gives you some landmarks to work with so that when you're trying to come up with, say, your perfect passive participle for something, and you'll get there. Just give it another year. You'll be there. Actually, they're kind of fun. Anyway, when you're trying to do that, you'll have these landmarks to work from, okay? I know that the stem for the perfect is going to be this, so I know how to conjugate this verb, okay? Because they're not all predictable. A lot of the first conjugations are really predictable. They don't do much as far as changing from principal part to principal part, but some of them are freaking ugly. Just a tip. Okay, let's do the next verb. This is going to be second conjugation, and we're going to do present, and then we're going to do imperfect. And I'm going to speed it up because that was just kind of the warm-up round, and now we're going to take the kid gloves off, and we're just going to go through it. And if you have questions, you can always send them to me in the comments, okay? I will answer them. Unless you ask me some really ridiculously hard question, I will answer them, okay? And if I can't answer them, I will try to find somebody who can. But if it's about this stuff, I got it. So you can ask me questions, okay? All right, so second conjugation. This one, okay. This is your verb for to move, okay? And you can see it. It's one of those Latin words where if you don't absolutely know, just take a stab at it because you'd probably be right. Okay, we get a ton of English words from this guy. Okay, moeo, we get move. We get motion. Okay, motion comes from your 4th principal part over there. Okay, we get movie. All right. We get a lot of words from this. So here we go. We're going to do present on one side of the board. We're going to do imperfect on the other. And we're going to blast off with this. We're going to find our stem by taking that RE off of the infinitive. Okay, the E is going to stick around. It's super duper strong. The O does not eat it. Okay, so present over here. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Woo. Moeo, moes, moet, moemus, moetus, moent. Okay, present tense. I move, you move, he, she, it moves, we move, y'all move, they move. Okay? All right. Imperfect over here. This is past tense. Incomplete action or habitual action, however you want to look at it. Process. Okay? Process. Kind of like learning Latin. So wise and deep. You didn't know I was going to get so deep, did you? You were thinking, I'll just watch this and relax. Oh no. She's getting philosophical. All right, here we go. So, mow is still our stem. Okay, we're still in the present system, and that just means that we're still using our present stem. We haven't used any other stems yet. It's coming. Okay, so mow is still our stem. Our endings are bomb, mow, boss, mow, bot, mow, ba, moose. Ooh, it's getting small over there. Mow, ba, tis, mow, bont. There you have it. Okay? I was moving. You were moving. He, she, it was moving. We were moving. Y'all were moving. They were moving. Okay? All right. So, imperfect. You ready for third? Okay. Third conjugation. And then I'm going to try to squeeze in, I think I'll do a fourth. Just because IO third and fourth pretty much do the same song and dance. But anyway, okay, so here we go. Third conjugation. This is a straight third. There is no I in the stem. Okay, this is just a third. Plain old, no supersize anything, no special order anything, is just a third conjugation. Common garden cabbage leaf. Okay, nothing fancy. So we're going to do mitto. Mittera, misi, missus, sum. Okay? I send, or to send, okay? So I send a letter or whatever. And we use this. I'm going to try to adjust this just a little bit. There we go. That's a little bit better. We use this with like transmit, commit, if you commit something. Yeah. Let's see here. What else do we get? We get permit. Okay. So things like that. All right. So here we go. We're going to do present. And we're going to do imperfect. I'm going to try to leave myself room. We'll see if that works. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, first, second, third person. Mitto. Now remember, we're finding our stem by taking the RE off of the infinitive here. The E is short. It's weak. It's gonna just, okay? So with this one, we're gonna have a short E go to a short I, all right? They sound a lot alike, and I haven't read all of the ancient grammarians' information on this language. I wanted to when I was in grad school, and I ran out of time. But for my money, if the scribes heard it and they heard a short I, it's just kind of the way the language changed over time. Misspellings, misunderstandings, they happen. So we have mitto, okay? And then we're going to have metis, okay? Mitit. I send, you send, he, she, it sends, okay? Mitimus. Mititis. Woohoo! Lots of T's. Mitunt. That's the weird one, okay? It's kind of predictable until you get to the third person, and then they throw that U in there. And you'll see that U again in the IO third and the fourth, okay? But you'll see an I in front of it. That's the only difference. Well, it's not the only difference, but it's a difference. So, yeah, the short E, think about it. I mean, if you listen to and I, they are really close. And if you say it just a little bit off, you can really mess people up. Okay, especially with spelling. Like, try to teach my kids spelling, and you know, I have to enunciate some of these letters because a short E and a short A can sound really similar. Same thing with short E's and short I's. So just think of it as sort of somebody got it wrong at some point and it just kind of stuck. All right. Short E went to short I. Imperfect. All right. Here, we're going to keep our E, which makes it a little easier. Okay. And we're going to add our endings. And again, it's really predictable because we have our stem and it stays exactly as it is, no changes. Okay. And we just add our endings to it. So, first, second, third person, they're going to get really long. Mitte bomb. I was sending. Mitte boss. You were sending. Mitte bot. He, she, it was sending. I'm thinking I'm going to try to squeeze it in underneath here. This is going to be your plurals. 1, 2, 3. Mitte ba moose. Mitte batis. Mitte bont. There we go. Okay, plurals down here. We were sending, y'all were sending, they were sending. Okay. All right, that's third conjugation. This is a regular old third, nothing fancy about it. Okay, let's do a fourth. IO third and fourth are going to do the same thing. Okay, so keep that in mind. They don't have the same infinitive, but they behave the same when you conjugate them. So we'll review these over and over and over because this stuff never goes away. If you really want the full scoop on it, look at my previous videos. The one that's IO third and fourth is labeled as such. So there you have it. Okay, let's do a fourth. Let's do, ooh, I know, my favorite verb, to sleep. Okay, let's do dormio. Dormio, dormire. Okay, to sleep. We get words like dormant. Okay, dorm room. It's your sleeping room. Okay. Here we go. Do present and imperfect. I should leave more room for the imperfect because it's freaking long. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Dormio. I sleep. Dormiss. You sleep. Okay. The I is going to stay. We're taking off that RE. The I is going to stay because it's long. Okay. It's a really long I. So, dormiss. Okay. Dormit. Dormi. Moose. Ooh, that's tight. Dormitis. And me unt. Okay, there's that I. It stays for the whole game. Okay, so don't lose it when you get to your third. It's not a straight third person plural. It's not a third conjugation. It has an I in it. The IO third does the exact same thing when you're conjugating it in the present tense. So if you know how to do one, you know how to do the other. You just have to bear in mind that the infinitives don't look the same. Okay? Let's do the imperfect. Now the imperfect is kind of, I wouldn't say weird. It's just, I don't know. It's just a little extra flair that you have to add to the imperfect. It's still the same endings, bomb, boss, bot, bombus, botus, bont. Nothing new there. Okay? But they thought that the I followed by the ending was awkward. And so they stuck an E in there to make it more fun or harder for people to memorize, or they knew that they were going to torture us for generations to come, so they just changed it up on us. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we're going to keep the I. Yeah, go ahead. We're going to keep our stem here, okay? We're going to add an E, and then we're going to put our ending on. So bomb. So dormir bomb. Dormir bas. I was sleeping. You were sleeping. Dormir bat. He, she, it was sleeping. I'm going to try to squeeze them in down here again. 1, 2, 3. Dormir bamus. We were sleeping. Dormir batis. Y'all were sleeping. And dormir bant. They were sleeping. Okay, again, IO third does the same. Okay, same thing. It's just that the IO third has a different infinitive because it belongs to a different family of verbs. Okay, but it conjugates the same way. So more to memorize, but the stuff that you have to memorize is not as consuming as this stuff is. At least they give you a little bit of a break, right? All right, here we go. Let's do our sentences and then our prize-winning irregular verbs. A lot of verbs in Latin are irregular, so I don't even know why they call them irregular. They should just call them verbs, because there are tons of them in Latin. Here are the sentences that I wanted to go over with you and talk about the parts of the sentence and how we compose them into Latin. Okay? Because this is, if you can compose from English to Latin, then that means that you're taking all this information that you've memorized and you're applying it. Okay? It's not just seeing the verbs conjugated on paper and remembering, oh, that's what that is. It's actually pulling all that information out of your brain and getting it out. Okay? It's a completely different application because you don't have any visual reminders of what you're looking at. It's in English. You have to move it from English to Latin. So you literally have to pull everything out in order to do it. And I tortured my students with this for years, and I'm going to torture you with it too, because I love you, and I wouldn't do this if I didn't care. So here we go. The first sentence I have, and I only have 2. The first sentence is, okay, the men were sending letters. Okay. First of all, we're going to have to ask some questions about our sentence here and figure out what parts are what. So, what is the subject of this sentence? Just in English. What's the subject? What is the sentence about, or who is doing the action? Those are the 2 questions you can ask yourself in order to figure out what the subject is. Okay. Men. This is your subject. Okay? That's your subject. The men are doing the action in this sentence. It's also that the sentence is about them. Okay? Usually in English, your subject comes at the beginning of your sentence. Okay? Typically. There are times when that's not true, either for poetic reasons or if you're reading really old English. There are times when that doesn't happen, or if we use a prepositional phrase at the beginning of our sentence, sometimes this happens. So anyway, subject, okay? It's the person or thing that your sentence is about, or it's the person or thing doing the action of your sentence, okay? Now, we need a verb. A verb is something you can do at this point until tonight, when I'm going to just blow your mind with a verb that's not an action. So, what's our action? The men are doing something. What are they doing? Or what were they doing? Sending. We're sending. Now, for extra credit, can anybody tell me what tense this is in? Is this present or imperfect? Imperfect. I hope you said it imperfect. Imperfect. This is your verb, and it is imperfect. And that is my phone dinging at me because I'm getting all kinds of little messages. Okay. So we have men is our subject. We're sending is our verb. I underlined the whole thing because this guy right here is really important. Okay. It tells us our tense. In English, we're a little sloppy with tenses, but tenses matter a lot in Latin. And they matter a lot in English too. We just ignore them because we tend to be sloppy with our language. Okay, and then do we have a direct object? We talked about direct objects, but does anybody remember what a direct object is and how do we find it? Okay, a direct object receives the action of the verb. So a good question to ask yourself is sending what? What were they sending? Letters. Okay, letters is your direct object. Okay, when you're looking for a direct object, think what is being verbed? What is happening to something else? So the men were sending. What are they sending? They're sending letters. Okay. I baked a pizza. What did I bake? A pizza. Pizza is my direct object. Okay. Things like that. You can ask yourself some leading questions and kind of tease it out. So this is your direct object. Now let's get this into some Latin. Our verb is going to go at the end. Okay. So we're going to start with our subject. We're going to do our direct object next. And then we're going to do our verb. Okay. For now. Later, when you're really comfortable with all this, you can break all these rules for poetic reasons or whatever. Lord knows Cicero and Seneca and all those guys did. But for now, while we're learning and we're getting our feet on the ground and we're starting to run with this, we're going to do the textbook pedagogical kind of verb comes at the end. Okay, here we go. Does anybody remember or know the word for man in Latin? It's second declension. It's masculine because it's a man we're talking about. Okay, it's got natural gender. It's wir. Okay, now do we have one man or do we have more than one man? We have more than one. Okay, our English word is plural. It's men. Okay, so in the second conjugation, we need a plural for man. Now, what case is it going to have to be in? Because this is our subject. So what case do we use in Latin for a subject? Nominative. Okay? So we know that the word for man is wir. Okay? But we need a nominative plural. This is the nominative singular. So if we run through the declension in our head, it's wir, nominative. Genitive singular is weary. Dative singular is weiro. Okay. Accusative singular is wearum. Ablative singular is weiro. Nominative plural is weary. There we go. Weary. The men. We don't have words for the. Okay. Later on, you will learn ways to emphasize nouns like this and use pronouns to really push the point home. But for now, we don't really have a word for the. Okay. So weary, the men. Letters. Letters is our direct object. Now, what case do direct objects go into? Starts with an A, ends with accusative. It's accusative. Okay. So we need the accusative case, and I don't know if you guys know the word for letters or not. The word for letter is littera, litteri. This is a feminine, okay? It's first declension. We know it's first declension because of the A endings, okay? And when they give you a noun, they're going to give you the they should give you the nominative as well as the genitive singular, okay? The genitive singular is how we find our stem for nouns, which I'm going to do another video where we just review nouns as well because we need to. So if we have a first declension noun, we need to think of what the accusative is going to be, but we also need to figure out if this is singular or plural. What is this? Is it one letter or is it more than one letter? It's more than one. There's an S on the end, so we know that this is plural, okay? So we have to go all the way through the singulars, okay? So littera, litteri, litteri, littera, littera. I have to think through them, okay? Litteri, we're in the nominative plural, okay? And then we have the genitive plural, litterarum. And then we have the dative plural, litteris. And then what do we get for the accusative plural? Litteras. Okay? Weary, litteras. Now we need our verb. We're sending. What tense is that again? Oh, I wrote it on the board. I gave it to you. Okay. Imperfect. Okay. Now, men. Is that first, second, or third person? It's a third person. It's plural, so it's a they. Okay. If I wanted to take this out and put a pronoun in there, I would say they. Okay, I wouldn't say the men, the men, the men, the men, the men. If I was writing something about them, I would say they at a certain point. Otherwise, I sound dorky, and that's not how we talk. Okay, so if you can think of the pronoun that would replace it, then you can kind of figure out what person you're dealing with. Okay, so the men would be a they. All right. So we need a third person, we need plural, and we need the word for to send. And we need it to be in the imperfect tense. Now, we did this one earlier. Does anybody remember the word for to send? Mitto. Okay. Now, we have our stem, okay, which I'm going to write it down here. We have mitto, mittera. Now, for the imperfect, we're going to take off the RE and we're going to have mitte. Now, what do we add? What's our ending for the imperfect third person plural? Bont. Boom. Okay? Weary, litteros, mittebont. The men were sending letters. Okay? Let's do one more, and then let's do our irregular verb, and then I will leave you alone. I will try to be more regular with my videos. I'm sorry, but it's been so busy here. I know everybody's busy, and I'm not making excuses, but it's been homeschooling and everything else that's been going on. It's just been kind of not very video making friendly. I'm sorry for that, but it's kind of the way it is. So here we go. Next sentence, the last one that I want to do. The father receives, can't write, receives the gifts. Okay. The father receives the gifts. Now, a little vocabulary review. First of all, what is the word for father? Does anybody remember? Pater. Okay, so father is pater in Latin. Pater. And does anybody remember from like several videos ago what the word for to receive or accept is? This is from a while back. So receive is acipio, acipere. Okay, so we get the word accept. Okay, so we're going to need these two. So what is our subject in our sentence? We have to figure out who is doing the action or who is the sentence about. What are we doing with that? Father. Father is your subject. Okay. Now, what's the verb? What is the father doing in this sentence? Receives. Okay. Verb. That's the action. Okay. Is that present or imperfect? Those are your only two options right now. So this is present tense. Okay. So I hope you said present. If you didn't, well, I have other videos to help you if you didn't. Yeah, baby.
I wish we could sleep in during the school days.
Sorry, I wish we could sleep in too, but got school. Okay, now, $1 million question. What's our direct object? We have one. What is it? What is receiving the action of our verb? The father receives. What does he receive? The gifts. Okay, so gifts is our direct object. Okay, so let's get this in Latin.
Mom, she can play.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so father is our subject. What case does that go in Latin? Hope you said nominative. Do we have one father or more than one in the sentence? Singular or plural is the question. It is singular. We don't have a word for the, so it's pater. Nominative, singular. Okay. Now, we need our direct object next because our verb is going to go at the butt end of our sentence. Okay. So what's our direct object? That guy. And you know what? You might not know the word for gift. It's a neuter, which I did neuters many videos ago. But your word for gift, if you don't know it, is donum. Doni. We get words like donation from this. Okay, if you donate, you are gifting something to somebody. Okay, so donum, doni. Now, we have to kind of jog through our declension because we know that this is a direct object. Is it singular or plural? We have an S on the end, so it's plural, more than one. Okay, let's just jog through our neuter second declension, because that's what this is. The um in the nominative tells us this is second declension. It is neuter. Okay, so let's just run through this. All right, so we have donum, doni. Does anybody remember what the dative would be? Second declension, dative singular. Don't know. Like, I don't know. You might have gotten it right just by not knowing. All right. And then donum. One thing I want people to notice all the time is that in the neuter, the nominative and the accusative always match. And in the plural, they always end in A. Okay? So donum in the nominative plural or nominative singular, donum in the accusative singular. And then down here, we have another dono. Over here, nominative plural is dona with an A on the end. And if you see that and you're translating, don't let it fool you into thinking it's a first declension, because it's not. It's also not feminine. Okay, so be really careful. All right. Donorum. Remember, we had our room for the feminine. Now we have or room for masculine and neuter. Okay. Donice, okay? Dona, they match. See how that happens? And then we have Donice down here, okay? Now, direct objects go in what case? I forgot. Accusative, right. Okay, so we need the accusative and we need it plural. So what are we doing? Accusative plural. This guy right here. Dona. Dona. Okay, that's what we need. It's late. I'm tired. Okay, just ignore me. All right, and then we have our verb receives, and we said that that was accipio. Okay, and we need the present tense, and we need it to be what person? First, second, or third? Is father an I, a you, a he, she, it? What is father? If we were going to replace it with a pronoun, what would we say? He, right? If I said, my father was born in 1950, he had a brother and a sister, okay? Yeah, so he, so it's a third person singular, so the ending for he or she or it does something in the present tense is T. Okay, so we have akip. Does anybody know? Akip. Okay, akip it. Akip it. It sounds like a really bad, like redneck woman. You can't have my bubble gum. I kip it. All right. I'm so not gonna have any followers after this video. So there you have it. Now, I promised that we would do the irregular verb. We're gonna do sum. All right. This is a very important verb. Really, really important. You need to know it. And I am going to go through the conjugation with you. I'm going to talk a little bit about it. And then in a subsequent video, we're going to work with it in sentences so you can see that it's not an action. Nothing is happening to anybody, okay? This is not an action verb. So, sum esse is your verb for to be in Latin, all right? Oddly enough, we're still getting our stem the same way. Originally, if you want to be really nerdy like me, remember that the esse was originally esra. Okay, that's what it originally was. So you can imagine people not wanting to say esra. Eventually, it just got whittled down to esse because people get lazy, they hear things wrong, and that's just the way languages change. So we're still finding our stem the same way we always have, but we have to imagine that that second S is an R, okay? So this is actually our stem right here, and that's going to help you out because it shows up a lot in the conjugation, even though we have sum as our first person singular, which, where did that come from? It's called being irregular. That's where it came from. So here we go. First person, second person, third person. We are in the present tense, which means right now, okay? And we're going to translate this I am, you are, he, she, it is, okay? So here we go. We're going to have sum, I am, es, you are, est, he, she, it is, okay? Sumus, we are, okay? Estis, y'all are. Sunt, they are. I know. It's weird, but that's the way it is. All done? Okay, I'll be done here in just a minute, guys. I promise. Okay. So, yeah, nighttime routines are starting here. All right. this is called a state of being verb, okay? If I say I am a woman, okay, nothing is happening to the word woman, okay? There's no action involved in a state of being verb. It's not something you can stand up and do. Let's just put it that way. I can't stand up and is anybody. I can't stand up and am anybody, okay? This is not an action verb. We can use it as a linking verb. We can use it as a helping verb, but we can't use it as an action verb. Therefore, this verb will never have a direct object, ever. Never, ever, ever make this verb do anything to any other word in the sentence, because it can't. You cannot have the woman is a teacher and have teacher be a direct object. Hey, Guido. Okay. So, I'm going to give you a couple examples, and then I'm going to go and get my kids tucked in, and we will do more with this in the next video. Okay. I'm not even going to give you any homework because, hey, I'm a compassionate person and it's late. So there you have it. All right. So here we go. Let's do a couple sentences really fast. Okay? The boy is a student. Okay. So, our subject, I'm just going to give it to you to move things along, is the boy. The boy is the person that we're talking about in this sentence, okay? So, boy in Latin is puer. We need it to be nominative singular because he's the subject and there's only one of him. So, the boy is, we need a he, she, or it is, because a boy, if you're going to say the boy, you would use the pronoun he, okay? So it's he is. So how do we say he is? Does anybody remember? Did anybody write down the chart before I erased it really fast? Puer, it would be est here. Now we're still going to put our verb at the end, okay? But I want you to see something. For the sake of this sentence, I'm going to put the verb smack dab in the middle of the sentence, okay? Just so you can see something. So I'm going to put puer est. And our word for student is discipulus. Okay, for a male student, it would be discipula for a female student. So this is second declension. We get the word disciple from this, or discipline from this, okay? Discipulus. Notice, this is a nominative singular. This is a nominative singular. This is more or less an equal sign. Okay? This is what we call a subject complement. And I don't mean compliment like it's a nice thing to say about somebody. I mean complement as in it completes something. Okay? If something is like a complementary angle, if you remember your geometry, okay? It makes the whole angle. A complementary angle is two angles that put together that make one big angle, okay? If your, I don't know, if your spouse compliments you as far as personalities, like my husband is super duper chipper and always very upbeat in almost every situation, and I'm more even keeled. I don't get real goofy and I don't get real cranky. I'm just kind of on the level all the time. We complement each other. We kind of balance each other out in a lot of ways, okay? So that's what I mean when I say a complement. I mean it completes something. It makes something more complete. So when we say the boy is a student, we are giving information about the boy so that we know who this boy is just a little bit more than we did before. Okay, that's what I mean by complement. So a subject complement is something that gives more information about the subject. And the est here acts like an equal sign. Think of it like a math problem. Okay, you have a nominative on one side, you're going to have a nominative on the other side too. In a sentence like this, we're going to see other times where you're not going to have nominative and nominative, you're going to have, say, accusative and accusative. But for now, think of it nominative on one side of the equal sign, nominative on the other side. Okay? Your verb should still come at the end, but I wanted to show you this so that you can see what I'm talking about. I mean, literally look at it and see nominative singular, nominative singular. This is a complement to this. This completes more of the picture. Okay, we understand more about our subject because of that. And we can do this with adjectives, which we're going to do. We can do it with nouns. Okay. So there's a lot of playground to play on with this. I'm going to do more with this in the next video that I make, but I wanted to introduce this, and it's really important that you memorize this conjugation and get really comfortable with it, because English uses to be verbs all the time. Can you imagine trying to talk without using to be verbs? I dare you to try to make it through a day without using a to be verb. They're just a pervasive form of verb that we use all the time. So really get comfortable with them and learn them very well. And if you have questions or comments or anything like that, you can leave them in the comment section below, and I will get back to you. And I am going to try very hard to make sure that I post videos more regularly. Hopefully life will allow for that. I will see you guys next time. Good luck. Leave me questions if you have them. And hopefully you all are hanging in there. I'll talk to you later. Bye.